legitimate concerns, but not all of them, and not all of the information in front of me. I also believe in the public process of people being heard. But we didn't advertise this meeting as a meeting where we would decide whether or not to repeal the bylaw. We advertised it as being concerned with two specific properties. Good Lord, how would the people of Saanich feel if they, found out tomorrow that we had decided, on the basis of good but limited input, that we were going to repeal a very important bylaw without giving it.
Feel like I did.
Excuse me.
I beg your
You
pardon.
had your chance to speak. It's Councillor Dermot's turn.
I would expect that kind of decision be broadly advertised to the people of Saanich, so those who were for the decision and those who were against it had proper opportunity to come forward and be heard. That would be the same for any major bylaw. And I simply can't do it as it comes up during a meeting. That is not public process. It's not allowing the people of the municipality to be properly heard. It just doesn't work that way. Thank you.
Okay, I think we've had a good discussion about the motion. I don't have much to add. I think it's been well canvassed. I feel a bit like the bylaw showed up for a routine physical checkup and suddenly the doctor's on the phone with the coroner. But I'm not quite prepared to bring in the wrecking ball on the bylaw. I'd like to see the process complete so that we can hear what are obviously very legitimate concerns about the bylaw and how it can be addressed, whether that means repealing it or making changes. I just want to make reference, it's been referred to a number of times this evening. I just want to point out that the second open house that people have referred to is this Saturday, October 3rd, between 10 and 3 at the Cedar Hill Rec Center. So you would, of course, be invited to participate in that. And when the town hall meeting is called, that will be advertised as well. I just want to get the motion read out one more time before I call the question.
The wording of the motion was that Saanich undertake a normal process for review of the bylaw was the exact wording provided.
Okay, everyone's comfortable with the wording? With that, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? It's Councillor Bryce, Dermot, Wergelin, Brownhoff, Murdoch, and Sanders opposed. That motion fails. Councillor Plant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to move that we proceed with option 3, remove the two properties from the EDPA.
Second. Okay, moved by Councillor Plant and seconded by Councillor Wergelin. Would anyone speak?
Yes, I would like to, if I may. Thank you, Chair. The two properties in question are challenging because of the obvious, what we've heard this evening, even in the last 15 to 20 minutes, that some biologists are saying it's not in the EDPA, or shouldn't be rather, pardon me, and our own staff is saying that it is, and that's very difficult to then speak against because we support our staff. However, at the end of the day, we are the ones who are elected and we are the ones who have been asked to make that decision. And so I'm comfortable, having visited this site, that this, and I'm not a biologist, that this does not appear to meet the criteria of the EDPA. It does not have the highest biodiversity on it. If we wanted to craft an EDPA that said we will protect land so that it could be eventually reclaimed, then we should have a bylaw that says that. And it doesn't right now. It just says what it says. Protect the highest, if there is development, return it. So under those auspices and having visited the site, and I do think it's timely, when I see a 90-year-old man who tells me he's looking out for his 24/7 care-needing wife, that gives me concern. It does make it timely. Do I still support that we continue on with the check-in? Absolutely. But in the interim, these two sites, I do think it needs to be taken out. I do, having visited the site, I think the average person who comes to that site would say this is a lawn under trees. The trees will be protected under the bylaw, and I support the trees being protected under the bylaw. I think we all do. The highest biodiversity, not from what I saw. I just want to turn to one other page. And this is, I wrote down some kind of theoretical comments. I'm in favor of protecting environmental sensitive ecosystems, but when they're not there, they're not there. Number two, we deal as council with what's in front of us, not what we want.
Yeah.
The second, I'm not saying it for applause or anything like that. I appreciate the support. So my comment would be, yes, this will open a Pandora's box that we could have many in front of us in the next 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks. But given our council agenda of how hard it is to get something on quickly like that, and that's not meant as a disrespect, it's we're a busy council, it would not likely result in the next week there being 10 people coming in. They may apply, but they're not likely to get in front of us before that time. I think given the sensitivities that have been discussed tonight, that we should honor these long-serving residents by acknowledging what is, not what we'd like, and that is, we should remove them. Thank you.
Councillor Plant, Councillor Workland, and then Dermott.
Thank you very much. If I heard staff right, they indicated that these two sites meet the terms of the present EDPA bylaw. And I think to remove them because of that, I think is fair and it does make common sense. And I think sometimes, and we're all guilty of it if I can use the word, we look for process just for the sake of process. And I ask myself, does this application need more process? And I look at it and say, I don't think it does. And I'm not talking about the EDPA in general. I believe there is a process in place where we will be looking at and listening to the public. And after the public consultation, we will look at it and say, do we fine tune it or do we repeal it? But tonight isn't the time for that, but I believe tonight is the time to address these two properties, and I really believe they should come out tonight. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Councillor Workland. Councillor Dermott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As has been indicated, we've had some conflicting information and opinions given to us tonight. I've had an opinion from Mr. Lee, who I have a great deal of respect for, about the property, and I visited the property with Mr. Lee and Ms. Bull some time ago. They may be right. And if they are at the end of the process, I will certainly agree with it. I've also had the opinion, as I mentioned before, of staff, and also of Dr. Nancy Turner, who is an internationally renowned expert, who has said no. And further that as I said, Deborah Curran, who understands provincial law probably better than anybody, and says you are in fact complying with provincial law. So I need, as I said before, to have this process go through and to get as complete information as I can about whether or not I'm making the right decision. If there was a pressing issue, I guess I would probably have to make the decision right now. But I have been assured by the applicant that there is no immediate intent to develop these properties. So nothing will change in the next few months. That is a time when we can collect information, and I may at the end say, indeed, these two properties should not be there. I would vote for removal. But I would properly do that in my mind after the process that we have already started has been completed and every opportunity has been given to get the greatest possible information on the diversity of opinions. That's how you make intelligent decisions. I think there is a concern that if we were to remove these two properties tonight, there's an issue of precedence. One speaker said, I hope you remove these two properties because that will establish a precedent for every area that potentially is lawn. That's a huge impact. It may be the right impact, but we don't know that at this time. Haji Turanian said, you are setting a dangerous precedent and you are preempting the process. And I agree with that. So I think, and I will not support this motion, I think we need to do the proper process of collecting as much information as possible and then make decisions about changes that need to be made, if any, and then make decisions about whether properties should come out, given that there is no immediate, for these properties, time pressure on that decision. So that is the way I will vote, and that is the way I will act. I will let this process go out. I will check with every municipality in this region to find out how their bylaw works, what their bylaw is like. I will talk to others who have concerns like yours, and I will talk to people like Dr. Nancy Turner. And I will try to get as much information as I possibly can to make the best decision I can. And hopefully that works for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dermott. Mayor Atwell.
Thank you, Chair. I think I've said this before at a council meeting, and I think it's appropriate to say again. I say it a little bit flippantly. I think the only thing missing from this meeting are pitchforks and torches. Sorry. The only thing missing from this meeting are pitchforks and torches. It is the case, in my opinion, that this bylaw has gone too far. But on the topic of these two properties, this was actually the first property that I visited that's brought the EDPA to my attention. I can't remember the date, but it was long ago, and I did not understand it. My first reaction on talking with the resident was the same thing: oh, this is wrong. This needs to go. This isn't right. Let's do what you're asking for. I had to go back and delve into the details of it. I had to visit many properties. So I believe what I've seen at the very beginning and what I see today, with all the information that's come in between, that these properties should come out, and therefore I will support the motion. Many times tonight it's been said that there's a battle of experts, and I spoke to that in my earlier speech in the previous motion, that there always will be a battle of experts. If I can say it this way, some will say that the earth is flat, and some will say that the earth is round. And a lot of argument took place until a position was formulated, and then that was used as the basis to build on everything else. But the nature of this bylaw is that it starts out with a flagging tool, and as I understand it, originally started with an aerial map that was 20 years old. And it was only to be used as a guide, and it then required an accredited expert to inspect it on the ground. And I believe, while we have letters from many esteemed people, that the people that have been on the ground at this property and seen what they've seen is enough. Surely we rely on accredited experts. There was a previous council meeting where I was talking about I was asking a question of staff about what happens when variance permits come to us, where buildings have been built and exceed the drawings. And I asked, well, how does that happen? How do we inspect the site? How do we check upon that? And the answer that I got back was that, well, we rely on accredited people at the site, not necessarily our own staff, to make this judgment. And our whole system is built upon this. And so, in my opinion, the accredited experts that have been to this property on the ground have followed the science. They have taken it from a flagging tool to an actual inspection, and what they've seen has come as a recommendation to remove these properties, and there are no sensitive species there. So on that basis, and I think it's the scientific approach, and I think it's the recommended approach, and I think it's the documented approach, and I think it's the provincially approved approach, why would we not take what we know now? And as Councillor Plant said earlier, we have to make judgments based on what's in place and not on what we would like to put in place. We can't do that. We don't know what the law is going to be like later, the criminal law. We have to make judgments based on the law as it is now. And there's enough in this law for me now, from what I've seen, that these two should come out right away, and every other property that's like it. And I put the previous motion forward to basically speed up the process, because I think many properties are going to come forward, and we're going to be sitting here for a long time, over many months, dealing with these properties one after the other. And I'm not sure enough of the exceptions that will be captured by the bylaw are going to be coming to council that are going to help us craft that. That's solely going to have to come out of the public process. So with that, I'd like to reiterate my support for the motion. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mayor Appel. Councilor Rice.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So at this stage, at this date, the bylaw that is in place, when asked by a member of council to staff, do 4007 and 4011 meet the current EDPA? And the answer was yes. We have already made a decision not to repeal the current bylaw at this meeting. We have signaled to ourselves that we're going to keep an open mind, and I would dare say that common sense says that there's going to be significant changes in the bylaw, and I would state that at that time, basing it on the principle that you have a changed bylaw, we won't be taking 1 or 20 or 30 properties night after night in front of this council. We will establish a bylaw that does have broader support, and 4007 and 4011 may very likely be the first two out of the capture, but there may be others that automatically do as well. But it'll be a principle-based decision. It'll be based on the bylaw that exists at the time. And the bylaw that exists at this date has these two properties staying in. As I say, that is highly likely to change, and these two may very well go out. I would say I would be the first person to say that if there's a significantly changed bylaw and that these two properties are no longer considered the EDPA, that I'd want them flagged as the first out. But then there will be a natural process for other properties to be considered as well. I think that just doing it at this time is so mighty tempting, because it would make everybody in the room so happy, but to me it is not based on the principles that we need to operate by. But I keep an open mind, and I want to be available to make a better bylaw.
Thank you, Councilor Rice. Any other Councilor Sanders?
Yes, I too, I don't support option 3. I think we need to stay with option 1 for the reasons that I said previously. We've already heard that these two sites do meet the EDPA guidelines, and as Councilor Rice has said, perhaps that when the end of the day comes, that they will be removed. Precedent is the word, and the priority of the process that we're going through are very important to me. We have heard from all sorts of experts and conflicting in a lot of ways. We've got a note here also from Eric Higgs, who's a professor of ecological restoration at UVic School of Environmental Studies. And, you know, it's just one of many, and the same thing, how valuable this is to save. I also heard professionals tonight that said to be careful about what time of the year you visit a site and what you see. And if you go out to any site at this time of the year or early in the spring, you're going to see nothing on these sites. If you go by my property now, which is a Gary Oak Meadow, you are not going to see any camas or shooting star or anything. But come back in the spring and they'll be there. I removed a section of my lawns, and sure enough, those gentlemen that said they aren't there because they get mowed and that, they reappeared. And so, you know, I think we have to be careful that we do this wisely and review the properties and get an EDPA that works well for everybody. But right now, I feel that we stay with the, you know, that for the option 1, it's the process that we're taking, and you know, it's only a matter of a few months before we come back with our results, and then we can look at it, refine the EDPA if we need to, which is fair to everyone, as they say here. It's not everybody. You know, if there's 2,000 households, 5,000 our population aren't here. They aren't all here tonight. So stay on track.
Thank you, Councilor Sanders. Before I call on Councilor Brownoff, I'm going to ask Council to try out a motion that I think we probably all can support, and that's to go past 11 o'clock.
Second.
Those in favor? Opposed? I knew it. Unanimous. All right, Councilor Brownoff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna, judging by the conversation around this table, I would like to move a postponement motion on this until after the public process has completed. If someone seconds it.
Second from Councilor Sanders. There is a motion on the floor, but a postponement motion would supersede that until further consideration. Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, discussion on the motion to postpone. We don't discuss a motion to postpone, do we? I don't think we do. Okay, wisdom to postpone. Is it after? Further discussion? Mayor Outlaw.
Thank you. On the motion to postpone, I'm still moved by the moving video and the comments from, I think it was Ms. Bijou, the property owner. You know, this has been going on a long time. They're elderly, and you know, it's you know, how much time do we spend pushing this down the road? 3 months doesn't seem like a long time.
2 years.
It doesn't, but yeah, this has been going on for a long time as well. You know, I think there's been a lot of moving statements from yourselves that have inspired me. The one that's sticking in my mind now, and I think it's relevant, is, you know, these homes are our nest eggs, and the bylaw was never intended to reduce the value of the property by $200,000. It's certainly, I don't think the bylaw in its current form is adding, via expropriation, $200,000 of value to Saanich, and it's coming at the cost of the landowners. It really is something that needs to be properly addressed, and there's support for that here tonight. But let's just get on with it. Let's pull this property out and use it as an example. And maybe some other properties will come out. We'll deal with that in the time allowed. But let's not encumber these elderly people who've lived in this property for decades and understand it better than any of us here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Outlaw. Councilor Dermott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the motion to postpone is a good one because it doesn't. I beg your pardon. You know, I did sit and listen politely to you, and I would expect the same thing back.
Okay, this is not an exchange. This is Councilor Dermott.
The motion to postpone doesn't deny the possibility of option 3 when the process is complete. It allows for the process to be complete, for all information to be in, to come to the best possible decision, and then leaves option 3 on the table as a possible decision. And I think that's appropriate. Thank you.
Councilor Ward. Thank you, Councilor.
I realize the motion I support isn't going anywhere, but I would have to ask, what is the advantage of postponing it? Why don't we just come out and if we choose to vote against option 3, we vote against it. But let's call it for what it is. If we're not supporting it, we're not supporting it. Let's not put it off. Can someone indicate, or who indicate the advantage of postponing it?
Question to the mover. Councilor.
The postponement motion just leaves it on the table till after the full public process is finished, and we've heard that that will happen in October. I can't say today, you know, I've been moved by some of the issues. I've gone to the property, but we do need to finish the process. So what the postponement does is still keep it on the table till after we finish the public process. And then other people would be considered at the same time, after the public process.
Mayor Outlaw. Okay, then Councilor Plummer.
I don't think, I'm not going to support this postponement, but I don't think postponing the motion is appropriate, because while we've heard the public speak on many issues and many properties here tonight, we're actually here tonight to debate and to make a decision on these 2 properties on Rainbow Street. I don't think we're going to get anything from the public process that's going to tell us anything more about these 2 properties. I think we've heard it all to date. We know everything about it, and whether it's at a town hall meeting or we hear from staff and to enlighten us and we hear from more members of the public, we're here tonight to talk and make a decision about these 2 properties. And we have everything I think we need to know about these 2. it should not be postponed, and we should make a decision on it tonight, so I won't be supporting it. It's these properties that are on the agenda tonight, and I think we've actually forgotten that because we've had a 2-hour plus discussion on this, but it's these properties that we need to make a decision on. We have enough, I think. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to call the question on the motion to postpone. Those in favor? Opposed? Mayor Atwell, Councillor Plant, and Councillor Berman opposed. I voted in favor, so that motion passes.
Coward.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I'll now call upon the clerk to introduce the second item. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us until the late hours this evening. We ask that you please do us the favor of allowing our meeting to continue and exit the council chamber if you wish to quietly. Thank you. Please go ahead, clerk.
Next item is for 4655 for Dover Bay Road. It's a development variance permit and zoning application. Council has provided a report from the Director of Planning recommending that council support option 1 as described in that report, and that council proposes to further consideration of the application to allow the applicant to reconsider the proposal.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Just a reminder to those who are exiting the chamber, we are now continuing with item number 2, and we ask that you please exit quietly so that council can hear the discussion. Thank you very much. Are there questions of staff from council? Seeing none, I will call upon the applicant to provide us with his or her presentation.
Good evening. I can promise I'll be friendlier to what just happened. But, so recognizing it's late, we'll try to be brief and to the point. My name is Marion. I'm representing the applicants. What we've called Water's Edge is a 8-lot subdivision of 4655 Bay Road. And I'll be talking about the project details, some parking and traffic concerns, the project benefits, community consultation, and then the environmental impact of the project. And then we will probably go right to our time limit, but Brad Cunningham is here tonight, and he's a BC land surveyor, and he'll be talking about the Bear Land Strata regulations and the interpretations of those. So getting right to the project details. It's located in the local area plan of Cordova Bay. It's north of Cordova Bay Road. It's a narrow, skinny lot that runs into water. It's just into the Mountain Parkway, and there's some recent development nearby that we'll be looking at. So there's a project to the west called Oceanwood, which is an RS12. All these projects are RS12, including ours. And they have 5.4 acres. Lavinia Lane at 3, Ocean Park at 5.1. We have 3. But the density is what I want to highlight here, in that it's very, very close. We almost are identical to Lavinia Lane in being that we have a 3-acre property. We have 8 lots. We're proposing 8 lots, and the density being 2.7 units per acre. All properties are Bear Land Stratas, including ours. But Lavinia Lane, their smallest lot is 588 meters squared, whereas ours is 695 meters squared. This will become relevant later on in the discussion. Looking at some visuals of the project, we're going for a West Coast contemporary architecture, which is kind of anchored by natural materials, wood, stone, low pitched roofs. And this really came out of the discussion with the neighbors that had some height concerns. So we matched the architecture that is easier to manage height, and West Coast architecture or West Coast contemporary is typically found with shed roofs, lower pitched roofs. This is another shot of the proposed design. We have submitted a design covenant that will kind of spell out these details that will be registered on the covenant, on the title of the property via covenant. But you can see the stone treatment, the wood siding, and kind of that indoor-outdoor relationship with the large windows. And here's a happy couple living in their new subdivision. This is a shot looking towards the water. It's just some varying house designs. So in terms of parking and traffic, 8 houses generates in the zoning bylaw 16 stalls. We're providing an additional 21, which totals 37 parking stalls, and this is really just to get rid of the implications that neighboring developments will be hampered with cars parking on their properties and the traffic that generates. All parking can be wholly contained within our site with ample measure. And in terms of trip generation for 8 properties, in the AM hours, we're talking about 5 cars going out, 1 car coming in. And in the PM hours, it is 5 cars going out, 5 cars going in, 3 cars going out. But this represents, through our traffic study, a 2-second added delay to the Blenkinsop and Cordova Bay signal, and it's 0.15% of an increase to the traffic on Cordova Bay Road. So it's a very small impact in terms of the traffic load. Sightlines, the geometric design for Canadian roads suggests sightlines for 50-kilometer road to be 90 to 120 meters. Our traffic consultants indicated that 123 meters is more appropriate for the site. So in the picture on the left, looking east, we have 217 meters as indicated by the yellow arrow. And on the picture on the right, looking west, we have 129 meters. So both sides, we have the required site distances. In terms of pure economic benefits of the project, CMHC estimates that for every $1 million spent, 30 person-years of employment are created. The estimated value of the project is $10 million, which results in 300 person-years of employment, and that can be further looked at as 54 direct jobs, 180 indirect jobs, and 6.2 jobs through income spending.